As you may know, there is a campaign with which I've had almost nothing to do on Charlie Kirk's feelings about Israel before he was killed. We did one segment on this show last Wednesday with the guys from Fifth Column where I played 4 minutes of an exchange that Charlie and I had on August 6th about that very subject, because as far as I know, I'm one of the only ones who actually has Charlie on tape talking about that a month before he was killed. And so my position is you don't have to wonder how Charlie was feeling about the situation with Israel. Here he is on camera telling you. So that is why I ran that segment. And I explained to the audience the reason that I was doing it is because there was a lot of talk about Charlie and Israel. Candace Owens had brought it up and others had brought it up. And she had reporting about a meeting with Bill Ackman, allegedly putting pressure on Charlie to be more pro-Israel right after his Turning Point event. I've heard that same reporting from others, but I wasn't weighing in on that one way or the other. I wasn't there and I didn't have my own sourcing on that. I was just trying to say, if this is in the news right now, I've got him. Most people didn't even know we did that interview. A lot of people listen to the show, but not everybody. So here it is. Let me play this for you in his own words. And in that exchange, you can go back and listen to it. We replayed it again last Wednesday. But the sum and substance of it was Charlie was saying he did feel unfairly attacked by some who are pro-Israel for mild criticism he'd been offering as of late about Israel. He didn't like it. He didn't like being called an anti-Semite. He felt he had earned the benefit of the doubt with the pro-Israel crowd because he's been very ardently pro-Israel. And I was expressing my own similar feelings because I felt like I was in the same boat. I've said almost nothing about Israel. Literally, I've said almost nothing. But I was also getting very weird pushback. When I was on with Tucker recently, he mentioned this, and I'll just read it to you. This was an article that was put out by the American Jewish Committee. They purport to stand for the rights of American Jews across the world. And this was after Charlie's event, at which literally I said nothing about Israel. It was at the Turning Point event. We were talking all about Epstein. And he said, do you think he's intel? And I said, it seems like he was some sort of an asset being used as intel. Probably Mossad. That was my guess, since Ehud Barak had been spending the nights in Jeffrey Epstein's home. It seemed like he was very close with Israelis and their leaders. And there's an Israeli guy who specifically said Epstein was Mossad. He was a Mossad asset and that this guy was his handler. I had an argument about this with Ben Shapiro. So look, I wasn't saying for sure. I was saying he could be ours, could be theirs. That's it. That's literally it. And this American Jewish Committee puts out the following. Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly floated the baseless conspiracy theory that Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent and admitted that they had no evidence. That doesn't matter because what people will remember is the lie. This isn't just irresponsible. It's a textbook example of how right-wing anti-Semitism spreads through conspiracies dressed up as innocent speculation. They gave oxygen to an age-old trope of Jewish control, and in today's climate, that's not just offensive, it's dangerous. So strongly object to that. I'm sorry that there are tropes about Jews. I've been fighting against them for years. It's bullshit. I hate anti-Semitism. Honestly, I've seen what my Jewish friends have gone through over the past 2 years. So they have to worry about getting killed when they go to temple. It's absurd. It's terrible what's happened on college campuses, the tearing down of the hostage posters. I mean, I've been at the forefront in criticizing it. But to say that in speculating about why Jeffrey Epstein got away with so much, maybe he was intel. And I didn't just say about Israel. It was like, I don't know whose he was. Mossad could make sense. We could make sense. That's crazy talk. You can't have every speculation about Israel or mild criticism of Israel turn into anti-Semitism. All along, people have been saying, the Israeli defenders, you can criticize Israel, just don't be anti-Semitic. Well, don't try to take a criticism of Israel and make it anti-Semitism because it upsets people who love our Jewish friends and love Israel. Just stop. So Charlie was offended. He didn't like it, and I didn't like it. And now enter this jerk, Abe Greenwald. He is a commentator. He's executive editor of Commentary Magazine. And he decided to attack me. And he came out last Wednesday after our show with the Fifth Column guys, in which I made very clear, of course, I am not playing this soundbite from Charlie because I think Israel had any relevance whatsoever when it comes to Charlie's assassination. As you know, I'm really clear on who killed Charlie. I believe that it was this trans guy. Well, guy dating the trans guy. And the Fifth Column and I had the following exchange around that Charlie soundbite and around some of the reporting about the Bill Ackman meeting, again, which I took no position on. I wasn't there. Watch this. It's Hot 49.
I wonder why, before Charlie Kirk had been buried, the number of people that were talking about Israel. That's the thing that concerns me about why this is coming up. Why is it about the pet issue that she's been talking about, I think, obsessively for every time I tune in to, like, in these totally crazy ways? I mean, the guy Ian
Well, I don't know
Carroll,
if this is true of Candace.
Well,
but obviously some people... No, but I was just going to say, but some people, obviously... were wondering whether Israel had a hand in this. I mean, that's clearly why it's come up. And there's zero evidence of that. And there's zero evidence of that, is what I said. Then I went on Tucker's show, his live show that Wednesday night, and said exactly the same thing. Zero evidence. I said, I don't believe, and I know you don't believe, that Israel had anything to do with Charlie's murder. But we talked about that same strain of, like, why is there so much pressure against people who say other things about Israel that are not flattering? Yes, Tucker's gotten more and more critical of Israel. Separate now out the Charlie thing. He's gotten very critical of Israel because he is worried about what's happening to Christians over there. And he's very worried that the United States is going to get pulled into that war like we almost were when they launched a side war against Iran. He's entitled to say that. And when I went on Tucker's show, he and I talked about, like, the level of pressure on Charlie and on me to, like, cancel our friends, to stop talking to Tucker. Charlie, I respect Candace. I don't know her personally, but I'm dear friends with Tucker. But I've certainly had pressure to completely cut ties with Tucker. And I know Charlie had pressure to completely cut ties with Candace. And by the way, Charlie spoke to that too. So I'm going to show you part of my discussion with Tucker, and then I'll get to the message from Abe Greenwald. Watch this. And I just want to add, as a period to this, as a footnote, I guess, to this, Tucker, you have a lot of it too. And it is the reason why Charlie is not the only one who's been threatened or was threatened to cut ties with you or not platform you. I too have gotten that, especially since you've been more outspoken on Israel. And I couldn't care less the amount of pressure they put on. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah. This is madness. Why would you want to silence such a powerful, important voice just because you disagree with them on one subject, one on which we've all watched you sincerely evolve as you grapple with principles you've been espousing for years, like America First, like what's happening to Christians, like what's best for us and our kids here? How do I keep them safe? That's my number one priority. And I've been just absolutely disgusted and recoiled from people who have tried to pressure me on it. It, of course, never happened. But I know from speaking to Charlie, he felt it too. You've heard it from Charlie that he felt, and there is a layer here of nefarious pressure to have certain narratives go only one way. Yes. That must be called out and must be fought. And let's face it, Charlie was like an unofficial spokesperson for the youth of America, in particular conservative youth. And I don't know if people have checked, but they no longer support Israel. Everybody under 30 is against Israel. Charlie was 31. And so as a friend, he's saying to them, and same way I, as a friend, am saying, I am telling you, you've lost Dems, independents, and you're starting to lose Republicans. You need to wrap it up. You've had a 2-year long leash. I know you want your hostages back, but this cannot go on until you have every hostage back. It's just not going to, you're going to lose every friend you have. And that's what he was saying because that's what he was hearing from his constituency. I, like you, have zero belief that this had anything to do with his death. Okay, so I think it's pretty clear. Before I get to Abe Greenwald, Mark Levin, to whom I've always been very nice, very kind. I have had no problem with Mark Levin. I see him arguing with everybody online. It's not my fight. He tweets out that segment, a piece of it, where I said everybody under 30 is against Israel, with Tucker, and says, such disgusting bullshit, sick and getting sicker. They continue to reveal themselves. What is he talking about? It's not disgusting bullshit. There was an article in the New York Post just the other day. More than 60% of American Gen Z supports Hamas over Israel. Gallup just released a poll, days ago. Only about 1 in 10 adults under the age of 35 say they approve of Israel's military choices in Gaza. 1 in 10 adults under age 35. What I said was exactly right, entirely accurate. There is no cause for Mark Levin to be attacking me or Tucker over that discussion. He's out of line. People have been asking me to name names, like, who's attacking you? Because I said, but you get attacked if you... I'm going to name some names here. Mark Levin is one of them. Shame on him. He, like Charlie felt, you get no credit for being an open supporter of Israel. How many times can I say I am? Like, how many discussions have we had on this show? You guys know this. This is really gross, and I object to it, same as Charlie did. So now enter this guy, Abe Greenwald. So, by the way, on the subject of Commentary Magazine and Commentary's podcast with John Podhoretz is the main host, who I love. I think John Podhoretz is one of the most brilliant people we have. I really have admired him. I love Christine, who's on that show. Noah Rothman used to be on that show. Matt Continetti, brilliant. Like, these are guys I've listened to for years. And Abe Greenwald's on that podcast as well, who I've also enjoyed. They've been on this podcast. I had them over after 10-7. So I was shocked to receive this message. And I promoted that podcast. You may recall me mentioning that multiple times in the show. Abe Greenwald DMs me on X last Wednesday, September 17th. Keep going with the Candace theory. I think you got a real winner there. I'm sure you'll be vindicated. Stellar work. So he's being a sarcastic asshole. And I couldn't believe it. Like, what Candace theory? Candace has got her theory. Take it up with her if you don't like what she's saying. I distinctly said my own thing, which was not to endorse anything in particular about Candace other than to say, I do know how Charlie felt, and here it is. Play. So I finally got around to responding yesterday and wrote, I actually can't believe you're sending me hate mail as I'm grieving a dear friend getting his neck blown out before my very eyes, which you fucking know. I never endorsed any Candace theory. You're such a douche. And I have to pat myself on the back because that's exactly how I was feeling. And I said it with exactly the words I wanted to say it. And he responded today. I'm greatly moved by your grief. And what's more, awed by the strength it must have taken, given your state, to amplify the paranoid conspiracy theory of a well-known lunatic Jew hater. So this is what we're dealing with. How, pray tell, am I supposed to deal with somebody like this, who proceeds in the absolute worst faith, who gives you zero chips in the bank for being an ardent defender of Israel and American Jewish people going through what they've been going through? And this is one of the leading voices, one of the leading Jewish voices in America. And he seems pretty aligned with what the American Jewish Committee said. It's disgusting. And I have to tell you, it's undermining the very cause that he's hoping to promote. Like, this is not the way you treat your friends. Know the difference between a friend and an enemy. Israel and those who support it, they have enough enemies without making one out of somebody who loves them. And one other thing on the subject of pressure to abandon your friends, which it's never going to happen. Okay, just stop. Nobody should be leaning on me to abandon my friendship with Tucker, to not platform Tucker. And it's not just Tucker. I get this about Glenn Greenwald too. It's just stop. That's not ever going to happen. I don't believe their ideas are so vile that they cannot be platformed here. I'm interested in what they have to say. I may disagree with them. That's fine. They're my friends. I'm very interested in their opinions, and I always find them respectfully expressed. I mean, Glenn has a lot of really, ways into the Israel conflict that I don't get to hear that often, since I am such a supporter, and I would like to open my mind to what the side that's more critical of Israel is saying. And Tucker has a totally different, angle on the story, which I also find interesting. I may agree with it, I may not, but I don't get this, shut down your ears, do not listen, treat them like a pariah. That's crazy talk to me. And I happen to know that Charlie felt exactly the same, and the reason I happen to know it is because he said it on camera not long before he was killed at one of his events, where he was asked about his dear friend Candace Owens.
How is your relationship with Candace Owens nowadays?
She's a great friend. Look, I don't agree with everything Candace says, but you know what I don't do? I don't stop being friends with people just because people morally blackmail me. I don't do that, and you shouldn't either. Look, I have different views on things as Candace. I have different views on Israel than Candace. I have different views on a lot of geopolitics. But honestly, I traveled the country with Candace. I went to her wedding. I saw her meet her husband. I went to Israel with Candace, which is a fun story I'll tell you at some point. But what I don't like is when people demand, you must stop being friends with somebody. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's a left-wing tactic. Don't do that. I'm not saying you do that, but other people do that. We should never resort to that. In fact, if you believe what I believe, shouldn't you want me to be friends with people that don't agree with us? Shouldn't you want me to also be a tool of influence? And so I think the world of Candace. She's a great mother. She certainly has very, very fun opinions at times. And she's a great talent. She says a lot of stuff that sometimes I don't agree with. But that's what makes our relationship and our friendship interesting. My advice to all of you, you might not like somebody, but never tell somebody like me to stop being friends with somebody on an interpersonal level just because of disagreement. It's bad. It's what the left does, and we should rise above it as conservatives. Thank you so much.
So it's very irritating. And I really, this is not true of all Jewish people or even their, loudest spokespeople. I've never gotten this kind of grief from John Podhoretz, again, who's also on that podcast. There's something wrong with this guy, Abe, obviously. But I urge my Jewish friends not to go there, not to do this shit. I don't think any speculation about Israel belongs in the Charlie Kirk discussion. I set the record straight by playing his 4-minute clip. But I also think criticism of Israel on a standalone subject is entirely fair game. Charlie felt it. I feel it. And I've just had it. I've had it up to here with the Mark Levins and Abe Greenwalds of the world. Did you know gold is up around 40% this year? 40! That's not speculation. That is reality. And if a portion of your savings is not diversified into gold, you could be missing the boat. Here are the facts. Inflation is still high. The U.S. dollar is still weak, and government debt is still growing. This is why central banks are flocking to gold. They're the ones driving prices up to record highs, but it's not too late for you to buy gold. You're not too late to get in on this. From Birch Gold Group, and to get in the door now. Birch Gold will help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. You can do it in whole or in part. You don't pay one dime out of pocket. Just text MK to 989898 and claim your free info kit. There's no obligation, just useful information. The best indicator of the future is the past, and gold has historically been a safe haven for decades. So text MK to 989898 right now to claim your free info kit on gold. That's MK to 989898. Protect your future today with Birch Gold. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.